Welcome to another day of Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. I'm Atmadarshan or Laura, whichever is easiest for you to remember. And that's what we're talking about today as we prepare for another run through of the Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is ultimately about discovering ourselves. And one of the things it's useful to discover about ourselves, even before we discover more, is what we're programmed to do as human beings. As embodied humans, there are certain things that we are driven to do. For example, almost all of us are driven to be social. We need each other to survive, especially as newborns. We're not independent for such a long time compared to the rest of the plant and animal world. Another thing we seem to be driven to do is to make things hard or challenging, we could say, on ourselves. And I see this so much in the spiritual world and in myself, in my spiritual practices is, you read these great books from different traditions and they'll all say basically the same thing. If you want to progress on the spiritual path, if you want this, then do this, do that. And we say, well, but that seems so simple. Like one of the things many traditions say is tell the truth. And then you hear, yeah, tell the truth. That seems simple. And then all the buts come into the head. But what about here? What about there? What I like watching TV is TV, watching fiction is that, indulging in untruth, and we start, okay. Even with this sadhana, one of the things I could have done is, I'm going to be talking about this soon, bird fight. Anyway, one of the things I was going to do is just do the sadhana. Go out, do a balancing pose, sit for 5 minutes, be done. And then some part of me said, well, let's broadcast it. And part of me was like, oh yeah, that'll make sure I do it. But also there was a part of me that likes this challenge. It's a little harder than it needs to be. We are programmed that way. And if you don't believe it, this could have an evolutionary advantage. For example, if we face challenges, become stronger or more, moved outside the box a little more, then when these challenges come up in our world, we're able to respond to them better than others who just like sat around and done nothing. I think about a friend of mine just got back from New Zealand. Hi, Jay Josephine. And she talked about these mountain parrots. And I thought like mountain goats, and kind of like mountain goats, because of their tough environment, they've got these beaks. And she says the beaks can rip through roofs and, they can hammer on nails with their beaks and get them out, or screws and break the screws. It was just, wow. So that bird, instead of going, the mountain, it seems like a hard place to live, I'm going to go with my regular parrot friends. Like, I'm going to take on this challenge. And now an evolutionary advantage, perhaps, for that part of the area. Yeah, we just like it. And if you're thinking, I don't know, I've got a couple of things for you to think about. One is, so I just gave blood. As many of you know, I put it on my social media page. That's hard for me, but I do it. And then I got a Tetris t-shirt last time. And if you've ever played Tetris or any kind of, video game, even Space Invaders, back in the day, Space Invaders. But often they start easier and then they get harder. And that's part of the fun, is how far can I go? How challenging can I make it for myself, yet still pull it out? I do that with solitaire. When I play solitaire on my computer every day, man, if I kept it on the easy setting, I would be so bored. So I keep ratcheting it up. I like it just hard enough that sometimes I win, but most of the time I don't. That's just me. And we can also view this in how we look at beings that take the easy way out. So it's not just humans that make things hard. My orange cat, the yoga cat, Oliver, is such a wonderful study. He likes to get up on the counters, as cats do. But when he walks around the counters, he doesn't go, wow, there's a nice wide open space. I'm going to walk around things on the counters. Like, oh, there are things on the counters. Yesterday there were these pot lids, and they're not, balanced on the part so the handle's up. They were handled down so that the pot lids were wobbly. They weren't able to completely rest still on the counter. And so he's like, now what will happen if I walk on these pot lids instead of around the pot lids? And anyway, and how we view beings that do not like a challenge. So, for example, bird fight, I was reading about cuckoos. I love the birds out here and they inspire me to learn more. And as many of you probably know, cuckoos will sneak into the nest of some bird that's out, foraging for food or taking a break from sitting on the egg, and kick out the egg and lay one of its own. And when that baby cuckoo hatches and grows up, it kicks things out of the nest. And so this is like the cuckoo is the laziest parent ever. Sneaks in, hey, have a kid, and then the kid helps out by going, I'm going to kick the other kids out. So the cuckoo gives up its child rearing, basically, which, as many of us know, is something of a challenge in life, right? And when I was reading this article about it, just online today by, I think it was the National Wildlife Service, they called the cuckoo the bully of the bird world, not the efficient bird of the bird world. No, it's more like it's a bully. And we can think of that with people. If we don't perceive people are working hard enough, or, oh, I've heard this before, up to their potential, what do we say about them? And what the Gita and other spiritual works are demanding we do is face that aspect of ourselves and let it go as much as we can. Take the easier route in life, sometimes at least, because if we're always on this challenge, and we don't learn how to take a break, it's going to burn out. And if we don't learn how to let go and simplify our lives on the spiritual path, it's not going to work. Even Jesus in the Christian tradition, one of his famous sayings is, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich person to enter heaven. And the idea is, being rich sounds glamorous sometimes, but it can be hard to hold on to that money, to care for the money, to figure out what to do with the money, how to hide the money, and then I think things like, it's true. I think to myself, in my own spiritual practice, I'd love to just sit more. Well, what's stopping me? I could just sit and just sit. But, that hard level of Tetris and solitaire call. So let's see if we can just make our practice as easy as we can today. Let's do our balance. And if it seems hard, make it easy. Don't we do this in yoga classes too? If we can do the hardest version of the practice, we're like, yes. And if we have to modify, we go, let's just try taking it easy today. Switch. All righty. For our meditation practice today, we can just sit. I know sometimes we do other things, which is fabulous, but there's a yoga practice, a yoga meditation that says if you just sit and just sit for long enough, everything will come to you. Hard to believe because it sounds so easy. Let's just sit for 5 minutes. Or if you're thinking, I really do need something to do with my mind, you can do this. Contemplate how you make your life harder than it needs to be. or your yoga practice, your spiritual practice. Just contemplate that. Welcome back. How was that for you? I love getting your comments, by the way, so feel free to share or email or text. Today's practice I'm dedicating to a man who's both made his life hard, yet his spiritual path simple. There's a video down in the summary here on YouTube. It's about a triathlete named Jonathan. So Jonathan, being a triathlete, does like to face a lot of challenges. However, it's also important to him to give. And he does what many people can't do in his profession. He says he likes to give blood. And a lot of people who are also triathletes go, I can't do that because it would compromise my training, because this, because that. And he says he just does it. He incorporates it into his routine. So life is going to be challenging, but where in our lives can we say, this is just me making it harder than it needs to be? That's part of the wisdom of the Gita. And we'll explore more tomorrow. Till then.